to this Maple Spirit Pulse video bite, where we do a quick dive into hot topics on Canadian religion, spirituality, and secularity. My name's Sarah Wilkins-Laflamme. I'm the current director of the Institute for Religion, Culture, and Societal Futures, and we're here today in the beautiful Montreal. It is rainy outside a bit, but we're inside the beautiful city of Montreal, and I'm joined here by Jacob Legault-Leclair, who is a PhD candidate at the University of Waterloo, as well as a student fellow at our institute. So, hi, Jacob.
Hi, Sarah.
Thanks for being here. So, Jacob, our hot topic for today is Bill 21 and the Supreme Court of Canada. So maybe to get us started, could you just maybe give us a quick refresher on what Quebec's Bill 21 is for those who are less familiar with it? So, what it is, what its key components are, maybe a bit of where it comes from.
Yes, so the Bill 21, officially named the Act Respecting the Laicity of the State, is the more recent bill from the Quebec government on laicity.
Right, 2019, right?
Exactly, it was established in 2019, but it is now in front of the Supreme Court of Canada, and that's why we're talking about it today. So the goal of the bill was to establish laicity in Quebec, so respecting the neutrality of the state regarding religion, the separation of the states, also the neutrality and the freedom of conscience of the Québécois. So the most controverted provision in that bill was the ban on the wearing of religious symbol for the teachers in public school in Quebec.
Yeah, so some government employees under the provisions of this bill are not allowed to wear larger religious symbols and dress, right? And that's what's been very controversial.
Exactly. Yeah. So this happened in 2019, but it's not the first bill regarding the laicity in Quebec. It stemmed from a lot of debate, actually 20 years of debate, since the Commission Bouchard-Taylor in 2007.
Yeah.
So since then, we had a few iterations of different laicity bills by different governments in Quebec. We had the Bill 94 from the Gouvernement Charest, the Liberals from the Gouvernement Charest. We then had the Charter Value from the Parti Québécois, and then the Bill 62 from the next Liberal government, from Philippe Couillard. And then we got the Bill 21 from La Cannon. Here we are.
Still got it.
Yep.
Yeah, and Bill 21 kind of replaced some of those R1s, right? Like they kind of slowly evolved, and then Bill 21's like the recent iteration of it.
Yeah, it does. And it goes a step further. In some of the previous bill by the Liberal, the main proposition was to ban the wearing or the covering of the face when receiving public service.
Oh, yeah, right.
So it did implement that, exactly, the niqab or the burqa in the Bill 21. But it doesn't go as far as the Charter of Value, where they were also banning or tried to ban the wearing of visible religious symbol for people in the field of health.
Right, which is still not the case, right? So the charter, they proposed the Charter of Values in 2013. It didn't come through, and it actually had some more measures that we don't currently see in Bill 21.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Yeah, cool. And so, well, like Jacob was mentioning, right? Like there's a number of groups, including the English Montreal School Board here in the city, as well as the Canadian Civil Liberties Association and the National Council of Canadian Muslims, who have challenged Bill 21 in court, and so it's kind of made its way up through the various court systems in Quebec. And those groups are arguing that Bill 21 infringes on individuals' right to religious freedom under Article 2A of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, among a series of other issues that they're also arguing they're problematic in this bill. And so, the case has kind of made its way up, and the Supreme Court earlier this year decided it was going to hear this case, and is currently doing so this spring and summer in 2026 when we're recording this video. So what would you say, Jacob, are some of the key dynamics at play currently with this bill and this court case at the Supreme Court?
Yeah. What is very interesting now is that the Supreme Court is not exactly debating the laicity included in that bill or in the purpose of that bill.
We would like them to, but they're maybe less interested in that for us, really.
Yeah. So the debate between the more open or the more restrictive types of laicity that are being implemented right now in Quebec is not at the forefront of the debate in the Supreme Court. Rather, it's the notwithstanding clause.
Right. So tell us maybe more about those two models of laicity first that are kind of at play with this bill, right?
Yeah. Depending on the way you want to legislate on laicity, you could either try to have a more restrictive model of laicity, where the neutrality of the state would be applied by trying to prohibit something form of religiosity in different sphere. It would not apply everywhere, but it would apply in some sort of public function. So, for example, with the judges, with the police officers, or with the teachers, in the case of Bill 21, and that's really the contentious point in this social debate.
Right.
On the other side, with more open types of laicite, you would have a more permissive approach to religious symbols, and those people, in that case, would be allowed to wear religious symbols, visible religious symbols.
Or there could be religious symbols in public spaces, as long as they're meant to be given equal opportunity, right?
Exactly, and that's an interesting point that you're raising, because it's not only about the wearing of religious symbol, but also religious symbol in public spaces. Right. For example, Bill 21 also removed the cross at the National Assembly.
Oh, right, which also caused a lot of debate.
Yeah, exactly.
In Quebec, yeah, and they moved it to another room.
Exactly.
In the same building.
Mimicking a sort of museum-like presentation of
it. Basically, cool. And but like you were saying, the Supreme Court isn't looking at that so much. They're looking maybe more at the use of the notwithstanding clause. So maybe, and at this point, at this stage in Bill 21's life, we can't really talk about it now without talking about the notwithstanding clause. So maybe tell us a bit about kind of what that clause is in Canada, for those who are less familiar, and how it's being used in 21 and Bill 21, and maybe how that comes into play with the Supreme Court's potential decision that we haven't had yet.
So this clause, the notwithstanding clause, was included in the Constitution in 1982. And to speak about it shortly, it was a clause introduced to shield some of the provincial laws from the Charter of Rights. But in this case, it has been used preemptively.
Right. So when they established Bill 21, they put it in immediately.
Exactly, to shield it from the test of the legislature. In this case, we're now trying to see if it was used correctly, and that's what the Supreme Court will be deciding on.
Well, we think that's what they'll be deciding.
We'll
find out.
That's the expectation.
But that seems to be the expectation, that it's that notwithstanding clause that kind of protects it from a non-constitutional ruling. That can the government use it, not only the Quebec provincial government, but other provincial governments, can they use it when they create a bill, rather than after the fact, once a bill has been ruled unconstitutional.
Exactly. So the hearing of the Bill 21 was, it ended up in March. It ended up in March. Okay. But we don't have any. We
haven't heard yet.
We haven't heard about it yet, and it should be after the election of fall 2026.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's what is expected
your elections
as well.
In Quebec is in November, right? The provincial elections. So. And I'm assuming the judges will probably actually purposely do that, so it doesn't have such a huge political impact. If they say drop their decision right before the Quebec provincial election, they might do it after, right? And the Supreme Court just takes time to make these decisions, hopefully in a good way. They think a lot about it, but that's really cool. And so I don't know. Do you have any thoughts of what might come after that, or if it's going to affect Bill 21, or any other thoughts about this bill?
I don't have any expectation besides the fact that I'm pretty sure that the debate is not over.
It's not over yet. It's going to keep going. Well, and there have been other bills recently too, right? That have made, and they're thinking of extending it to daycare workers, and so this is all still happening.
Yeah, it's still happening, and it's still heavily debated, especially in Montreal and Quebec, where most of the religious minority are concentrated.
A lot of the
in
diversity,
Quebec.
so people wearing these religious dress and symbols of various kinds, like turbans, hijab. Other kirpans, other symbols are, they're throughout the province, but especially concentrated here in Montreal. Montreal's like ground zero, right? Of all this.
Absolutely, yeah. So no, it will be interesting to see if those new legislation, the Bill 94 and the Bill 9, are followed through. They're actually
still they're being developed, right? They're kind of in the process.
Or they have been implemented recently.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just
so will they be debated just as well as the Bill 21 was? Probably.
Bill 21's been it's really gotten all the attention. It's been very controversial. So these other bills will they have as much kind of as an impact in public discourse or not? Right?
Yeah. Well, for now it will be probably the election, and depending on which side each political party decide to side, it will probably determine where the debates and the position that
Where
the
they
party
headed.
will go.
Yeah. And I'm sure the Supreme Court decision, when it comes,
Oh, yeah.
will have a big impact as
Yeah.
well, and but probably after the election, like you say. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much, Jacob. That's like super helpful. Yeah, and we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens, because again, as we're recording this, we don't have the Supreme Court's decision yet, and what that decision, if it'll mainly be focused on the notwithstanding clause, and so might not have a whole lot of impact on kind of laïcité itself and how the state decides to manage religious pluralism and religion in Canadian and Quebec society, or not, or maybe it will. Maybe we'll be surprised. The Supreme Court will actually have something to say about that, whether we go more for an open model or kind of like where Quebec's been moving with Bill 21 more towards like a stricter laïcité model that restricts religious symbols in public spaces, right? Well, so thanks for joining us. It was great so much. And everyone, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.